Everything you are today, and everything you will become tomorrow, begins with one powerful and often underestimated force: your thoughts. Your thoughts are not random whispers floating in your mind. They are the architects of your destiny. The truth is, you become what you think. Your dominant mental patterns, whether positive or negative, whether conscious or unconscious, shape the course of your life more than any external factor ever could. This idea is not a matter of opinion. It is a psychological, emotional, and spiritual law. If your thoughts are rooted in belief, faith, courage, and action, then your life will reflect strength, growth, and purpose. But if your mind is saturated with doubt, fear, laziness, and confusion, then your reality will be riddled with obstacles, hesitation, and defeat. You are always thinking, always creating, always directing your life through the lens of your mind, even when you're unaware of it. Imagine your mind as a powerful engine. The thoughts you feed into it are the fuel. Feed it clean, empowering, purposeful thoughts, and the engine will drive you to success, fulfillment, and clarity. Feed it weak, toxic, or directionless thoughts, and it will stall, falter, or even crash. It is impossible to live a positive life with a negative mind. What goes on within will eventually manifest in the world around you. What you allow yourself to think repeatedly becomes what you believe. What you believe becomes how you feel, and how you feel dictates how you act. Your actions then create your habits, and your habits shape your character and ultimately your destiny. It all begins with a thought, a single, subtle thought that grows stronger each time you return to it. A person who constantly thinks, "I'm not good enough," will act in ways that prove that belief true. But the one who thinks, "I will find a way," regardless of circumstance, will open paths that once seemed impossible. The most successful people in the world are not always the most educated, the most connected, or even the most talented, but they are the ones who think with clarity, direction, and intensity. They train their minds to focus on what they want, not what they fear. They speak in the language of achievement and see their future in vivid detail long before it becomes visible to the world. They do not entertain thoughts of failure because they understand that the mind cannot hold conflicting beliefs and still produce consistent results. You must learn to guard your mind like you would protect a treasure. Do not allow the opinions of others, the noise of the world, or the fears of your past to pollute your inner sanctuary. Every thought you choose is a vote for the person you are becoming. Speak life to yourself. Imagine greatness. Think in terms of action, possibility, and growth. Even in difficulty, choose thoughts that empower rather than weaken you. To master your life, you must master your mind. And to master your mind, you must be intentional every day about what you read, what you watch, who you listen to, and most importantly, what you say to yourself. You cannot rise with thoughts that keep you grounded. You cannot lead with thoughts that keep you afraid. The level of your thinking will always set the limit on your potential. So take back your power. Take full responsibility for your thoughts. You don't have to control everything in life, but you must control what you dwell on in your mind. Because whether you realize it or not, your thoughts are shaping your future. One thought at a time, one belief at a time, one decision at a time. Think powerfully. Think purposefully. Because you become what you think. And when you master your thoughts, you master your life. The process of mastering your thoughts is not a single decision. It is a daily practice, a lifelong commitment to self-awareness and discipline. Your thoughts are like a compass, silently guiding your emotions, choices, and actions toward a specific direction. The question is, are they guiding you toward your goals or away from them? This is the core of the principle. You become what you think. Every morning, you wake up with a blank page before you. Your thoughts become the words, and your actions become the ink that writes your life story. You must decide what thoughts deserve space in your mind and which ones must be dismissed without hesitation. Most people allow their minds to drift into thoughts of worry, insecurity, and comparison. Without realizing it, They are training themselves to expect failure, doubt their worth, and settle for mediocrity. But when you begin to consciously direct your thoughts, everything begins to change. You are not a prisoner of your past, your background, or your current situation. You are only limited by the boundaries of your thinking. If you think in terms of scarcity, your life will reflect limitation. If you think in terms of abundance, you will find opportunities even where others see none. Your mind responds to what it is consistently fed. Feed it discipline, and you build strength. Feed it excuses, and you remain stagnant. One of the most important habits you can develop is observing your thoughts without judgment. Ask yourself regularly, what am I thinking right now, and where is that thought leading me? A thought that leads you to doubt, to fear, or to inaction must be challenged and replaced. You must become the guardian of your own mind. No one else can do this work for you. You can be surrounded by success, opportunity, and talent, but if your mind is filled with weakness, none of it will matter. On the other hand, you can begin with nothing. But if your thoughts are strong, focused, and purposeful, you will rise beyond your environment. Every successful person, every influential leader, every builder of great things first became the architect of their thoughts. They did not allow negative thinking to go unchecked. They replaced fear with faith. They trained their minds to respond with solution-focused thinking instead of panic. This mental toughness doesn't happen by accident. It is built, reinforced, and protected daily. Another critical truth is this: what you visualize, you magnetize. Your imagination is not fantasy. It is preparation. When you think repeatedly about a vision for your life, your mind begins to find ways to make it happen. Ideas will come to you. Motivation will increase. People and resources will begin to appear in your path. But the reverse is also true. If you constantly imagine things going wrong, if you dwell on what could fail or who might judge you, then your mind begins to sabotage you before you even begin. You must train yourself to think in alignment with who you want to become. Speak thoughts of courage even when you feel fear. Think thoughts of progress even when you're stuck. Refuse to give power to thoughts that limit, shrink, or defeat you. The world cannot hold you back more than your own thinking can. Your future is shaped not by your circumstances, but by the direction of your dominant thoughts. You are either designing your life on purpose or allowing it to be shaped by default. Discipline your mind, and your life will follow. Master your thinking, and nothing will be out of reach. Because the person who controls their thoughts controls their destiny. You become what you think, so think as if your future depends on it, because it does. Your mind is your most powerful possession. It is more valuable than gold, more influential than talent, and more decisive than any external advantage. Every great invention, every work of art, every powerful movement began as a thought. That is how powerful your thinking is. And yet, most people walk through life without truly understanding the weight of their thoughts. They allow their minds to be shaped by fear, comparison, failure, and past mistakes. But if you are to rise above mediocrity and live a life of true purpose, you must take full control of your thinking, because what you think, consistently, deeply, and habitually, you become. This truth has shaped the lives of the most successful individuals across history. They were not born with extraordinary gifts. Many of them came from humble beginnings, faced ridicule, or were told they would never make it. But they mastered one essential skill. They trained their minds to believe in the vision they carried. They did not allow temporary failure to define them. They understood that thoughts are seeds, and with persistence, those seeds would bear fruit. Your thoughts are the starting point of every result you will ever experience. Before a decision is made, a thought must occur. Before action is taken, belief must be established. And before belief is formed, thought must be repeated. That is why what you think about most of the time becomes the blueprint of your reality. You must think deliberately, not just reactively, not just randomly, but deliberately, with intention, with direction, with clarity. If you constantly think that life is unfair, your brain will begin to find examples to support that belief. You'll notice setbacks, you'll focus on disappointment, and you'll feel stuck. But if you train yourself to think, there's always a way. Your mind will search for possibilities even when the odds seem against you. This is not a trick or a mindset hack. It is the law of how your mind works. Whatever you dwell upon shapes your perception, and your perception becomes your experience. To master your life, you must become a master of attention. Where attention goes, energy flows. If you give your attention to fear, anxiety, and regret, you drain your energy. You lose your drive. You fall into patterns of hesitation and confusion. But when you choose to give your attention to faith, purpose, growth, and opportunity, you empower yourself. You ignite your inner fire. You become unstoppable, not because circumstances have changed, but because you have changed the way you think. This kind of mental strength does not happen overnight. It is forged in discipline. You must challenge your thoughts daily. When your mind tells you, "I'm not good enough," respond with, "I am growing stronger every day." When you feel fear, say, "This is my opportunity to become braver." When you doubt your ability, remind yourself of your progress. Repetition of empowering thoughts creates new neural pathways. Over time, these become your default mindset, not because you were born with it, but because you chose to build it. And never forget this: thinking alone is not enough. Thinking must lead to action. Thought is the blueprint, but action is the construction. Do not just think success, work toward it. Do not just imagine change, live it. Your thoughts must push you to become better, to do more, and to rise higher. You are not your past. You are not your fears. You are the thinker behind the thoughts. And when you begin to think with purpose, speak with belief, and act with conviction, you step into a level of power few ever reach. That is how lives are transformed. That is how legacies are built. Because in the end, the truth remains. You become what you think. Master your thoughts, and you will master your life. The mind is not just a passive space for thoughts to come and go. It is a creative powerhouse, a dynamic tool designed to build, shape, and manifest the very life you desire. The quality of your thoughts determines the quality of your life. You do not become wealthy, healthy, or fulfilled by accident. You grow into those things through deliberate thought, focused intention, and disciplined action. You must understand that every breakthrough in life begins with mastering the internal conversation you have with yourself. That conversation is the foundation of your reality. From a very young age, we are bombarded with messages, some empowering, many disempowering. Over time, these messages become beliefs, and those beliefs become the invisible lens through which we view the world. If you were told you're not smart enough, strong enough, or worthy enough, and you allowed that thought to take root in your mind, it eventually shaped how you behaved, how you tried, and what you settled for. But here's the truth: you are not bound to the thoughts you inherited. You have the power to upgrade your thinking, to challenge those internal narratives, and to redefine what is possible for you. Thoughts are not harmless. They are not meaningless. They are energy. They carry direction. And over time, they become momentum, either working for you or working against you. A single recurring thought, when allowed to dominate your mind, becomes a belief. That belief, when reinforced by emotion and experience, becomes a story you live by. And that story either empowers you or enslaves you. If you do not take control of your thoughts, your mind will default to fear, to limitation, and to survival. But when you step in and direct your thinking with purpose, you transition from merely existing to intentionally living. Your mind, like any tool, must be sharpened. You sharpen it with repetition, with focus, and with clarity. Begin by asking yourself, what kind of life do I want to build? What kind of person must I become to live that life? Then align your thinking with that version of yourself. Start imagining the actions, habits, and attitude of that person. Think like they would think. Believe what they would believe. Reject any thought that does not serve that identity. This is not pretending. It is programming. You are reprogramming your mind to serve your highest potential. Understand that circumstances are always temporary, but your thinking can make them permanent. You can face failure and choose to see it as a lesson, or you can allow it to define you. You can face rejection and choose to grow from it, or you can allow it to break your confidence. The difference lies in your thoughts. Two people can face the same challenge. One will quit and the other will rise, not because one is stronger than the other, but because one chooses to think differently about the situation. To master your thoughts is to reclaim your power. No longer will you be ruled by fear of the future or shame of the past. You begin to live in the present moment with intention. You begin to recognize that success is not a lucky accident. It is a predictable result of consistent, empowered thinking followed by committed action. Your job is to stay focused on your vision, to train your mind like a warrior trains his weapon, and to think thoughts that push you, not paralyze you. What you think, you become. What you dwell on, you attract. What you believe, you achieve. So fill your mind with the kind of thoughts that are worthy of the life you want to live, because your life is always moving in the direction of your dominant thoughts. Master your thinking, and you will master everything else. There is a silent force guiding every choice you make, every emotion you feel, and every result you experience in life, and that force is your thinking. You may not see it, you may not always feel it, but your thoughts are shaping your destiny in ways more powerful than any external factor. From the moment you wake to the moment you sleep, your inner dialogue is writing the script of your life. This is why mastering your thoughts is not optional. It is essential. Because the truth is timeless, you become what you think. If your thoughts are filled with worry, you will live in fear. If your thoughts are grounded in faith and vision, you will live with strength and certainty. You cannot think thoughts of weakness and expect to live a strong life. You cannot think thoughts of defeat and expect to become a winner. The mind will always align your actions to your dominant beliefs. So if you believe you are capable, deserving, and resilient, you will behave that way. But if you allow yourself to constantly think of past failures, insecurities, or comparisons, your life will reflect those limitations. This is why the mastery of thought is the starting point of all personal transformation. Before you change your habits, your schedule, or your goals, you must first change the way you think. Because no matter how hard you work or how well you plan, if your thinking is rooted in fear, doubt, or confusion, your results will be unstable and short-lived. On the other hand, when your thinking is rooted in clarity, discipline, and belief, you become a force that nothing can stop. One of the most important practices you can develop is the habit of mental awareness. Begin to catch yourself throughout the day and ask, what am I thinking right now? Is this thought helping me grow or holding me back? Is it strengthening my focus or distracting me from what matters? This awareness is like turning on a light in a dark room. You begin to see how your thoughts are shaping your attitude, influencing your energy, and even affecting your relationships. And don't just monitor your thoughts. Replace the negative ones with empowering ones. When you think, I can't do this, reframe it to, I'm learning how to do this. When you think, what if I fail? Replace it with, what if I succeed? You are not lying to yourself. You are choosing thoughts that serve your future instead of repeating thoughts from your past. Your thoughts are not fixed. They are flexible. And every time you choose a better one, you take a step toward a better life. Your thoughts also influence the people you attract and the opportunities that come your way. When you think with confidence, you radiate confidence. When you think with vision, you attract people and situations that align with that vision. Energy is real, and people respond to the energy you give off. If your thoughts are negative and self-defeating, others will sense that, even if you never say a word. But when your thinking is positive, intentional, and purpose-driven. You draw people toward you who can support and uplift your journey. Let it be clear, this is not about fantasy or wishful thinking. This is about training your mind to serve your mission. It is about becoming intentional with your inner world so you can master your outer world. You were not created to live in mental chaos. You were created to direct your thoughts like a captain steers a ship, decisively, confidently, and with unwavering focus. You become what you think. That is the law. If you want a better life, build a better mind. If you want greater results, create greater thoughts. Because your thinking will always shape your becoming. Master it, and there is nothing you cannot do. You work. Your life is a mirror, reflecting not your intentions, not your dreams, but your most dominant thoughts. While they work, the person you are today is the sum total of all the thoughts you've chosen to believe and repeat. Whether you have risen to great heights or remain stuck in the same place year after year, it all begins and ends with your thinking. This is why mastering your thoughts is not simply a suggestion for personal development. It is the foundation upon which every achievement, every transformation, and every victory is built. You truly become what you think. Your mind is the control center of your life. It determines how you interpret events. You work, how you react to challenges, how you see yourself, and what you expect from the world around you. If your thoughts are polluted with doubt, fear, work, or self-judgment, your actions will follow suit. You will move through life cautiously, hesitating, second-guessing, and ultimately settling for less than you deserve. But when your thoughts are aligned with belief, clarity, and strength, you begin to make bolder moves. You speak with authority. You walk with purpose. You become the architect of your life, not merely a passenger. We often underestimate how deeply our habitual thinking controls our daily behavior. The person who constantly tells themselves, "I'm not ready," will always delay. The one who constantly thinks, "I'm not smart enough," will never explore their true potential. These thoughts, you work, repeated enough, become the stories we live by. And sadly, many live entire lifetimes stuck inside a false story that their thoughts have written for them. But the beauty is this: the mind is not fixed. It is moldable. And the moment you decide to take back control of your thinking, your life begins to change. You work. You must treat your thoughts like a gatekeeper treats the entrance to a fortress. Not every thought deserves entry. Not every idea is worth entertaining. You work. You have to develop the ability to pause and challenge the thoughts that pass through your mind. Ask yourself, is this thought moving me toward my goals or away from them? Is it building my confidence or draining my strength? If a thought disempowers you, it must be replaced. You work, because whatever you allow to dominate your mind will soon dominate your life. What you visualize consistently, what you emotionally connect with, you work. And what you think about day after day becomes embedded in your subconscious. That's where the real magic happens. Watch you work. Your subconscious mind does not judge whether something is good or bad, true or false. It simply accepts whatever you consistently feed it. While they work, that's why repetition is so powerful. You must feed your mind with thoughts of success, abundance. You work and strength every single day until it becomes your new normal. You don't wait to feel confident. You think confident thoughts until confidence becomes your state of being. And let us be clear, this is not about ignoring reality. It's about reshaping it from the inside out. Challenges will come. Pain will come. But when your thinking is strong, those external challenges do not shake your internal foundation. You may bend, but you will not break, because your thoughts have trained you to endure, to adapt. You work and to overcome. Mastering your thoughts is not something you do once and forget. It is a lifestyle. It requires you to rise each day and choose your thinking as carefully as you choose your clothes. And the reward, a life that is lived on your terms, driven by purpose, fueled by vision, and anchored in clarity. Remember always, you become what you think. Think powerfully. Think intentionally. You work. Think like the person you're becoming. Because once you master your thoughts, you won't just change your mindset. You'll transform your entire life. Every human being possesses the extraordinary gift of thought. It is what separates us from every other living creature. It is through thought that we create, innovate, solve, and rise. But this gift, if left unchecked, can also be the very thing that traps us, keeping us bound to fear, regret, and limitation. That is why learning to master your thoughts is not only powerful, it is essential. Because whether you know it or not, you become what you think. You work. Thoughts are not abstract clouds floating through your head. They are the blueprints of your future. When you consistently think something, your brain begins to accept it as truth, even if it started as a lie. And once it accepts it, your behavior changes to match it. You work. This is why someone who constantly thinks they are not good enough will stop trying, pull back from opportunities, and talk themselves out of their potential, long before life ever had the chance to deny them. But the one who thinks with confidence, you work, who believes they are capable, begins to act with conviction, and the world responds differently to that conviction. Your outer world is simply the shadow of your inner world. If you want to change your results, whether in your career, your relationships, your health, your work, or your finances, you must begin by changing the thoughts that drive those results. You work. Most people try to change their habits without ever addressing their thinking. They make plans, set goals, even start routines. But because their core beliefs remain unchanged, they eventually fall back into old patterns. Why? You work because your thoughts are the root, and everything else is just the fruit. If you don't change the root, the fruit never changes. You work. You must begin to treat your mind like the most valuable real estate on earth. You wouldn't let a stranger dump garbage on your front lawn. So why let doubt, negativity, or fear pollute your mind? Protect your thinking with the same level of discipline. Be intentional about the words you say to yourself. Be mindful of the content you consume, the people you listen to, and the internal dialogue you repeat. What goes in, comes out. Garbage in, garbage out. Greatness in, greatness out. Affirm to yourself daily the kind of person you are becoming, not in fantasy, but in faith. Speak thoughts that align with the life you are building. When your mind says, "You can't," respond with, "I am learning how." When it whispers, "It's too late," reply, "No is the perfect time." This internal dialogue becomes your daily environment. You work, and you cannot grow beyond the environment you've created in your mind. There is immense power in consistency. A single positive thought may not change your life, but repeating empowering thoughts day after day trains your mind to think differently. Over time, your standards rise, your beliefs shift, your focus sharpens, and suddenly the things that once intimidated you no longer seem so far away. Why? You work because you've trained yourself to think at a higher level. You don't wait for circumstances to change before you change your thinking. You change your thinking first, and your circumstances begin to shift in response. That's the order. That's the process. And that is where your power lies. You were never meant to be controlled by fear, regret, or self-doubt. You were born to rise, to lead, and to become everything you were created to be. You work. But it all begins with mastering the one thing that controls everything else, your thoughts. Remember this: nothing outside of you is more powerful than what's going on inside of you. Master your mind, and you master your mission. Control your thoughts, and you control your future. Because ultimately, the most undeniable truth remains: you become what you think. And when you think with purpose, you live with power.